Okay, sorry for being literally I guess 1.5 minute late to the party. I slightly changed the setup on my computer and I just got lost a little bit in changing the settings on my streaming device. So, but it's okay. I am literally 1 minute late, so hopefully no one is too angry. Um, so we have some cool stuff to do today. I'm gonna go and run through the build as it is right now, like I usually do, kind of a quick reminder of where we're at. Um, but then what I want to go through today is I want to work through what we call fuzzy composers, which is essentially a way to provide multi-choice options to chatbot users. The use case that I discussed last week and that we're gonna go through today is allergies and then some sort of celebration, which we've already created the conversations for. But what I really want to go through is how to use that kind of information in or that kind of tool as a way to really improve the conversational experience for people. I think it's really, really important to make use of everything that a platform like ubisend could provide to you to improve the experience for the customers. As much as we want to be super tricky and super sound super smart by using loads of AI stuff and all that sort of stuff, sometimes what you need to do is provide some buttons. And that's a really strong opinion that I have on this. People don't want to have to mess around with typing things if they could actually just click a button for it. If you were on any website and you had to enter, what kind of allergies you might have, it's very likely. I mean, I haven't gone on that, but it's very likely that you would find some sort of drop down list with all of the things that you could have that you'd have to enter. You wouldn't have to enter an entire sentence. And so, in a chatbot environment, it's kind of the same thing. Like you don't want to have to type, I am deeply allergic to. I can't type. Allergic to mushrooms. Please let the chef know. Like you could do that and you could create some stuff around that. And I would say if I was the owner of this chatbot, and obviously this wouldn't have any responses, I haven't programmed it to answer that. Um, if I was the owner of this chatbot and my chatbot was really, really popular and I knew people would constantly ask questions around, do you have mushrooms? I'm allergic to mushrooms, but that sort of stuff. Like maybe if I ran a pizzeria or something like that, then I would create some FAQs around that. There's absolutely no reason not to do that. That would be really, really valuable. But what I wouldn't do is constantly ask the users to just write in full sentences when what I could give them is just a nice list of things that they could be allergic to. So all right. I guess we'll take a little tour into what we've done. So we've designed the bot as usual, and like I said every time, like I said last time, the bot doesn't really look that fancy because I don't really spend too much time on that. This is just kind of to show you that you can obviously make the bot look exactly the way you'd like it to look, which is really, really important for branding and customer experience, user experience in general, continuity, etc., etc. Um, the next thing we did was we created a couple of FAQs, if I remember correctly. We created one FAQ, that's it, around table booking, which was, can I book a table? How can I book a table? Help me book a table. So if I say that, can I book a table? Question mark. Absolutely, you can. Please select the time, date, and party size below. So you can click that, and you can. We've integrated, or we didn't really integrate, but we created an embedded response, which basically includes this book open table widget, which allows the user to just pick, I'm going to do on the 30th, and I'm going to go at 9 p.m. and I'm going to have 8 people. So you can do that straight inside the bot, which is great. You don't have to have any kind of conversion rate, any outbound click that might confuse people, or they might lose connection in between, or they don't want to have another page open or anything like that. You can do everything within the bot, which is really, really cool. Okay, so that's the second thing we did. And then the third thing we did was, I'm going to reset this so we can go from the start, is we created this kind of welcome message where we let people go into the conversation. And again, same thing, conversational experience. You want to make sure that you provide people with ways to enter the conversation that makes sense, that you don't want to leave them completely blank, not knowing what they can ask the bot. And so here we make it super obvious that they can ask a question or book a table. And so what we did was, if you book a table, you go through this little flow that I'm going to show you in a second. So I can help you book a table. Do you have any specific requirements? I have specific requirements, or I'm ready to book. If I say I'm ready to book, it takes me to this nice little button, which is basically the same kind of widget here. If I start this again, and I say book a table, and I just say I have very specific requirements this time. What it's going to do is it's going to say, allow me to grab a few details. When would you like to come and visit? So we've set up this nice little date and time picker. So I can do that. 21st of June would not make sense. Let's say the 30th of June. All right, send that. Oops. Specific dietary requirements. So this is where we're going to work on today. What we're going to work on today. Nope. And then, are you celebrating anything in particular? Again, we're going to work on that today. No. Any questions you have for us? Do you cater for cats? I don't know why. I just thought it was funny. Before we wrap up, what size of party? 8 people or 7 cats and me. Please enter your phone number. Here we go. Thanks, someone will be in touch very soon. All right, so this is what we built so far. Now, the way this looks is in the back end, we have 2 options for the conversation here, or for the user. They can book a table by either going down the ready to book, which is just this one message, super simple. They can click it and they can use the open table widget to book a table at my restaurant, or they can go down the specific requirements route, which takes me down this kind of right path and then goes back into the middle. But as you can see, it's only connected here through this arrow here towards the right, and then from this arrow to the main path. So this left path here doesn't connect to anything else. And then we literally just ask you question, and then at the very last step, we just say thank you. Okay, so like I said, the thing I want to work on today is composers. So I guess a quick description of what a composer is. The composer is this little area here on the screen that I'm kind of going around with my mouse on. It is the place where users will click to type and enter messages. So at this stage of the conversation, the composer here is send a message. And as you can see, if I type here, obviously it disappears. It's like the background of the field, basically. So pretty standard. If I go on Facebook Messenger, for instance, and I open a brand new conversation with a friend, it's probably going to say something like enter a message or type here or something like that. If I go on, that's a good question, actually. Let's go on WhatsApp on my phone. You got to see that. Actually, WhatsApp on my phone doesn't show any of that. It just has a blank, a completely blank field. But that might be because I'm already quite deep in a conversation with someone here. But you get my point. It's this field within which you type things. And then that field usually has a bit of a label behind it, which allows the users to know exactly what to do with the field. What's cool is that most chatbot platforms will give you absolutely no options in terms of what this field does. It's either there or it's not there. Most chatbot platforms, again, 80% of chatbot platforms probably will not even give you a field because they believe that flow chatbots are better than AI-driven chatbots, which is completely their choice. We quite like to give people the option to actually enter text and actually use the intelligence here. But then out of the companies that do provide you with a field, they will only ever provide you with one field, which is, enter text here type of thing. We don't like that. We don't like that at all. It's not flexible enough for ubisend. It's not flexible enough for our customers. It's not flexible enough for our partners. We really want to be able to create the exact interaction that we want. So as an example here, if I say book a table, as you can see, I still have send a message, send a message, send a message. If I say specific requirements, what is going to change is click to choose a date and time. So now all of a sudden, it doesn't say send a message, it says click to choose a date and time. And if I click this, it actually brings up this nice little date and time picker. So again, this is an indication for the user of what to do, what's going to happen when they click here, or what they should send when we ask, when this pops up. So this is just one example. If I go and find the composers, which I've literally just lost, here we go. If I go and find the composers, as you can see, we have quite a few of them. We have message, which is literally the default. So that's enter your message here. I already forgot what it was. Then we have feedback, we have loading, we have banner, we have date and time, which is the one we just looked at. Date, time, authentication, deactivated, and hidden. So there's all sorts of cool stuff that we can do here. But on top of that, so I could change the composer at any point of the conversation. I can change the composer to one of those, no problem at all. But also, I can change and create my own. So if I wanted to, I could create a composer here that said, this would be uh, table size, let's say, and this one would be, the placeholder for this would be uh, how many in your party, or enter a number, something like that. So I could save this, and now I have this table size here available. And if I go into my builder and I go into the conversation that we were just working on, and I go and find that specific conversation, the specific part of the conversation here where we ask how many people will be in your party, what I can do is I can click options here, message content, and then in the composer, I can go here and find this custom composer that we just created. So this is where I would change it. I find this, save that, click this, and we're going to go and demo this just to show you what this looks like. So book a table. We're going to go through this flow a little bit. So we've already gone through that, so I'm going to go quite quickly. Whatever. No, no. Questions you have for us? Nothing. And then I think this is the question. Before we wrap up, what will be the size of your party? Enter a number. So this is great because it gives me the option as a chatbot builder. It gives me the option to give more tools, more tips to my audience, to my chatbot users about what I'm expecting from them here. So what I'm expecting from them here is not, you know, 20,000, or we think we will be 12, or anything like that. What we tell them very precisely is that we're expecting a number. Enter a number. That's it. Don't send anything else. This is really, really important, and it goes back to this interaction about creating something that will make sense for the users, that will point them in the right direction, and use all of the tools available to you to do that. And within the ubisend platform, obviously, we have many of those tools. Um, so just checking in with Jacob as usual. All right, cool. So that's the composers. I think hopefully that's very clear. What I can do with the composers is we can do all sorts of things that are really, really cool. So with the messages, with the pre-built ones, there are some that are really, really valuable. So the message will basically just say enter a message. Date and time, we've already seen that that's the kind of time picker and date picker. Then we have the authorization or authentication. These ones will basically allow people to type into the composer, but it's just not going to display anything. So this is really good if you want someone to log in with their email and password, for instance, because you don't want them to type and someone around above their shoulders being able to see what they're doing. So that's completely that makes it really, really good for that. Deactivated is basically a composer that you cannot click on. It's still there, but you can't click on it. This is good to keep people engaged into the conversation or waiting or something like that. Hidden means completely hiding the composer. So I'm just going to quickly show you this one because I think it's quite cool. Actually, I'm going to do that on. So what a lot of people do this on is on the welcome message. The welcome message usually will recommend has some sort of buttons. Like I said, it has some buttons that basically say, this is what you can do with this conversation, with this chatbot. And what you can do is instead of allowing people to actually type, you can also hide the composer completely. Save this, close this, which basically means that when they turn up here, as you can see, the composer is completely gone. There is no way for them to type anything. The only thing they can do is click on these two buttons, essentially creating a completely flow-based chatbot, which is quite cool. You can do that, and it allows you to really point their user in the right direction, not let them ask any kind of silly questions straight off the bat. So that's completely fine as well. Right, enough about those kind of default ones. Hopefully that was enough information. I'm gonna revert this back. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to basically create custom composers called fuzzy composers. So those are really, really specific a specific type of composers that allow you to basically either start typing or select from a list of options. And we're gonna append them to this conversations once we've done that. So let's go back to the composers, and we've done table size. That's cool. What I want to do is I want to do a composer that is not a message; it's a fuzzy, and fuzzy is somewhat different from a message, and we'll have a look at that. So allergies, I think that's how you spell it. Select allergies. How do you do that if it's multiple? I don't really know because you don't have to say allergies. I don't really know. Whatever. So we can, again, same thing here. So what I've done is I've named the composer so that if once I'm in this kind of area here where I'm managing all the composers I have and I need to figure out which one I want to use, at least I have a name so I can find it quite easily. So this is for admin purposes, obviously. So I've given it a name, and then I've given it a placeholder, which again says select. Now it's very different to say select from type here or enter or anything like that. Select means the users, when they click it, will expect to see a drop down of some sort. They will expect to see some sort of thing that will allow them to select and not have to type. So the wording is really, really important here. And so here I can start adding some options. So what kind of options could we have? I guess gluten. Um, I should have prepared for this. Food allergies. Let's see. I'm just Googling it at the same time, so I know. Here we go. 10th most common. All right, wheat. I should know that. I am allergic to wheat. Soy. Peanuts. Peanut, I guess. Egg. Shellfish. Sesame. And that's probably enough, isn't it? So gluten, wheat, soy. That's seven allergies. All right, so we're almost there. What we've given it here is a few options, 7 options of things that people might be allergic to. What I might do is none and other. Here we go. So actually, I might just put none here at the top, and then I'll do uh, gluten here at the bottom. Here we go. Um, So what happens here? What's going to happen is when people click this button, what I'm hoping to see is some sort of way for them to see all of the options available. And if it's available there, they can just click it and making things a lot easier. The other thing that, so these names here on the left are what is going to be displayed to the user when they click that button. Now, the other thing I can do is I can actually program my chatbot to send a different message based on which one they click. So typically, I'd say 99% of the time you'll send the same kind of word or the same thing. So you'll send none for none, wheat for wheat, etc., etc. Um, Soy, etc. But what you could do is you could say, I am allergic to wheat, something like that. So the reason for doing this is that it allows you to actually create more automation later on. If you want to have very, very specific automation when someone says wheat versus someone saying soy, you could really create all sorts of automation behind that with postbacks and triggering other conversations. The other thing you can do actually also is if you have a very specific integration here that requires you to have, let's say wheat is, I mean, I'm completely making this up, but let's say in your table booking system, a wheat allergy is actually W300, let's say. That's the kind of format that your software is looking for. You can actually format that without having to show to the user W300, which doesn't mean anything to them. So for this, it doesn't really make any sense, but you can imagine this for a lead generation chatbot, for instance, where you need to integrate the user's let's say you're asking the user for their department, the department they work in, and that department is going to be used as a way to define the persona inside your CRM, for instance, the persona for that specific contact. Well, personas within HubSpot have very, very specific names like, persona underscore 6 or whatever, 7. And so you obviously don't want to say, you don't want to give this as an option. You want to say, HR or something like that. But this is what you can do basically. Yeah. So hopefully that all makes sense. So for now, I'm just going to say peanuts, peanuts, egg, shellfish, shellfish, sesame, gluten, and other. All right. All right. So let's do that. Save that. All right. We have a brand new fuzzy composer called allergies, which is cool. Let's go and have a quick look at how this is built. Um, all right, view composer, view conversation. Okay, cool. So the dietary requirements are here. So same as last time, I go into the message content, I go into the composer, and I change this to the brand new one, allergies. Perfect. Dietary requirements has been updated. So we can go and have a little look-see at this. For those of you who want to play with this as you're watching, you can always go and test it here. This is a public URL. I just put it in the chat. You can go and have a little play. Even if you're watching this much later on as a recording, this bot will most likely still be live. So feel free to click and go and have a look. All right, book a table. Here we go. Specific requirements. So we can discuss this. Date and time. Perfect. Specific requirements. So as you can see, it changed from send a message to select allergies. And now if I click on that, it gives me this nice little list, drop-down list, or drop-up, I guess, list of all of the allergies I could pick. So I could pick shellfish here and send that, and we'll be on our way. Perfect. So hopefully that makes sense. I think what I want to show you as well is that this actually, if I remember correctly, and don't take my word for this, we'll give it a try together. What might happen is that you might have a really, really long list of allergies or whatever it is that you want to do. And so you could say, you can start typing and gluten would come up and you can press enter and just send that, or just pick whatever it is that you need, which is really cool as well, because sometimes some of our customers, for instance, have a fuzzy composer for all of the car brands and models that they have. And as you can imagine, there are many, many hundreds of cars and brands and models around. And so people typically just go like Ford, Focus, or whatever. They're not going to scroll through an entire list. Okay, so that's pretty good. But one thing that I did realize is, as I'm resetting this again to go through it again, one thing I did realize is, sure, I have a so let's do this, let's do that, blah blah blah. I do have a wheat allergy, but I also have a shellfish allergy. And at the moment, the only thing I can do is I can say wheat or I can say shellfish, which doesn't really make any sense. There are instances where I want to pick two things. Now, if I wanted to buy a car and I wanted to pick between a Ford Focus and a Ford Mustang, I don't really know cars enough to make these kind of comparisons. It's quite likely that I'm just going to pick one car, brand and model, easy. But things like allergies, well, I might have many of them. You don't know. So this is not quite good enough. So what I want to do is I want to go back and I want to go back to the composer and I want to edit this composer to actually allow multiple selections. And I think this is really important distinction here, because what you want to be able to do here is you want to be able to give users the option to actually pick multiple things if that's what they have. Because if they don't have that, you're going to see if they don't have this option and they do have multiple allergies, you're going to see a massive drop off in usage at this stage. Because people will go and talk to the bot and they'll go through the whole thing and it's going to be all nice and neat and perfectly worded, etc., etc. But then as soon as they can't say that they are allergic to eggs and shellfish, and they have to pick one, and they're like, well, I'm deadly allergic to both. Which one do I pick? They're just going to stop the conversation, call your restaurant, quote unquote, wasting your team's time, and completely bypass the purpose of your bot. So you really want to be careful about that. So, all right, I have a wheat allergy and I have a sesame allergy. Here we go. So now I have both. I can actually enter both, which is perfect. Okay, so that's one fuzzy composer done. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. I think it should do. What I want to do is I want to make sure that we go through another example of this, and one that might be slightly different, where we can have a bit more fun with it, and that is the celebration composer. I think that celebrations quite typically will be somewhat the same. You can there you go. Where is it? Are you celebrating anything in particular? So typically it'd be an engagement, a anniversary, a birthday. I don't know. Is that it? Work do, leaving party, that sort of stuff. I guess. So what we can do is we can basically just use the same kind of feature. We're going to do another fuzzy composer. For this one, we're going to leave it to one specific answer because I think that it would be quite weird to have a birthday slash leaving do party or something like that, although that could exist. Um, so celebration, celebration. So I'm just going to give this a name as usual. Um, what are you celebrating? Or pick an event. So same thing, pick something. Just don't type, pick. And we're going to make this a fuzzy. Oops, a celebration. Pick an event. What did I say? An event, I think. All right, what are the options here? So we have birthday. We have engagement, anniversary, retirement. I'll do work do. Is that it? Work do. Um, and then what else is something like that? Stag dot slash Hindu. There we go. So, okay, so that's good enough. Now, I want to say message to send. Let's say I'm celebrating my birthday. We're celebrating a birthday. Oops, birthday. We got engaged. We're celebrating our anniversary. We're having a work do. We're celebrating a bride and groom, something like that. All right, so we can save that and we can go back to the builder here, go to the booking a table, and let's have a quick look at what we can do with this. Celebrating anything in particular. All right, editing this one, as usual, message content, same thing, celebrations. Let's do that. Okay, we've updated that. Let's go here. We're going to book a table. We have very specific requirements because we're doing a party. And so I'm going to pick a date. I'm going to pick a dietary requirements, sesame, and then I'm going to pick an event. So pick an event. I'm going to do birthday. All right, and so now in the backend, it's sent that very specific sentence to the bot, which could be really valuable for us. Any questions you have for us? Can you give? Can you write Alex's name on the cake because it's my birthday? And number of enter the size of your party. Enter a number. We're going to be 8. All right, perfect. So now what we've done is we've basically made this entire interaction a lot slicker. Um, a lot of bots will completely rely on the user's quote unquote knowledge of how to use a bot to actually navigate through the conversation. And that's typically when something has gone horribly wrong with the planning and crafting of the chatbot. The other way, the more reasonable way to do this is to actually give the users all the tips and orientation and directions within the conversation to actually do the right things step by step. And as far as I know, ubisend is the only platform that really allows you to do that to such an extent. The Composer is a really, really good example of this, where you can actually provide the tips to the users about what it is that they need to do next. So you can do two things with composers. You can give this little tip within the little label message here that is going to give the user, remind the user, okay, I need to actually enter a name here, or I need to actually enter an email address, or I need to actually enter a phone number or something like that. So this is one thing. But the next thing it does is it actually also allows, with some clever formatting, like the fuzzy composers, it allows the users to not mess up what you're expecting them to send to the bot. And that's really, really important because when you have all sorts of automation in place, if one little format is not correct, things fall over quite quickly. And it's up to you as the chatbot builder to actually plan for that. And the composers, like the ones we just looked at, actually helps you do that very, very nicely. So hopefully that was a good lesson. The last thing I want to do before we wrap up, because I think I noticed that um, this welcome message has this booker table, which we've gone through a million times now. But if I do ask a question, I think it's going to say, I don't have a response to that. So it doesn't have anything for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be prepared for this. And I'm going to actually add a nice little next step on when people ask a question so that we tell them that they can ask their questions about XYZ. Um, and so obviously we don't have any questions yet. We don't have any FAQs. We only have the one. But eventually, as we build this bot, we'll add more and more things that the bot can talk about. And so this is where we want to educate the person as well. Very important. So I'm going to go into the welcome, excuse me, the welcome conversation here. So the welcome conversation is the conversation that's triggered when the user first uses the bot. So anytime that someone uses the bot for the very first time, this is what they'll see. And at the moment, they have these two options. And if you click book a table, it takes you to this other conversation that we've just been working on. But if you click ask us a question, it doesn't do anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another step here. And I'm going to say, ask away. So that's the step title. This step title is just for myself. The users don't see this at all. And what I'm going to say is from when the users go from the welcome to our chatbot, which is the very first step of this conversation, when any of the following conditions are met. So if they click, what they could do here is we can use all of these events here to actually use in transition here. But what we really want to do is only when they click that one button do we want them to go to this step. So if the message that is sent is equal to, I think it was ask question, but we're going to double check in a minute. If the message that is sent is equal to ask question, move them to this very specific step. If it doesn't, don't move them anywhere. And here we're going to say we can craft the message. So we can say, perfect. That's what I'm here for. Please ask away. I am particularly good at answering questions around our menu, booking tables, and our chef's unique our chef's unique flavors. I don't know. I don't really work for a restaurant. So here we go. So that's enough. Perfect. So let's have a double check here because I said when message equals to ask question, but I'm not sure if that's what I programmed this button to say. So message is this ask questions with an S. So as you can see here, what's happening is this is an action message, which is a message that contains a bit of text and then two big buttons. With each button, we have a label, which is the very first part of the button here, book a table. And then we have a postback, which here in this instance is book table and ask questions all in one word. Postbacks are little keywords that the bot receives or sends to itself when people click buttons. It happens in the background, so the users don't see it at all. But it is this little, it's not a piece of code, but it's this little keyword that's going to be sent in the back end of the bot to say, this is what we've received. It's not the label, which is what's going to appear to the user, but it is the thing in the back end of it. And we can use these little keywords, these little postbacks, to actually trigger other conversations. And this is exactly what we're doing here. So the postback here is ask questions with an S. And what we're going to do is in transition, when message equals to ask questions, we're going to move them to the next step, which is here. So I just went into the first step here, and I went into transitions, and I'm saying to transition from welcome to our chatbot to ask away. We're going to need the user to send a message that is equals to ask questions. Again, which is the thing in the backend. So the users don't actually know that they're sending that, but that's what's happening. Okay, and then they receive these two messages, and then what happens next is nothing. So basically, when the user enters this conversation and then goes all the way down to here and hits this step, they automatically leave the conversation as well. So they're no longer quote unquote stuck in this conversation. They have free reign to just ask questions and kind of trigger these Q&As, FAQs, sorry, type stuff. So if I go into demo here and I click now, ask us a question. Perfect, that's what I'm here for. Please ask away. I'm particularly good at answering questions around our menu, booking tables, and our chef's unique flavors. So now here I can just say, what kind of flavors do you work with? And of course, I haven't programmed the bot to say anything about this, so it's just going to say, I don't have a response for that. But you can see that now I can just basically ask questions. So can I book a table? Perfect. I absolutely can. Select time and day and party size below. Boom. So we're basically out of this little conversation that we had, and we're now entered into the Q&A part of, or FAQ part of the bot. Okay, so I think we've done good work here. I'm going to wrap this up as a shorter series, episode on this series. So what did we do? We learned about composers, the little area where you can actually type things. We learned about the fact that within the ubisend platform, you have full control over what the composer does and displays, which is incredibly valuable from a conversational UX perspective. It allows you to give a little bit of an indication to the user about what to do next, what to enter, what kind of data we're expecting from them, what type of text or input we're expecting from them, which is great. Then we looked at fuzzy composers, which allows us to provide the users with 1, 2, 10, 15 options as kind of a drop-down menu instead of having to type it themselves, which is really good. Saves a lot of time. And then we set this up as a multi-select as well. So you can select not one, but 2, 3, 4, 5 options if you wanted to. Very important. For things like allergies, but also saying, what kind of extras do you want on your pizza? Well, I want mushrooms, olives, and asparagus. I don't know. So we did that, and then we did another drop down with, another fuzzy composer with the celebrations. And then finally, we edited the welcome conversation to add one step further if people say they are here to ask a question, which I think is it works quite nicely for the conversation. So I'm going to stop this now. What I'm going to do is next week, we're going to do a whole bunch of FAQs, I think. We're going to do a pretty basic kind of lesson, I think. It's always good to have some FAQs within the bot because obviously you want to be able to ask those questions. And so far, every time I try to ask a question, obviously the bot just says it doesn't have an answer for it because I haven't worked on that. So it's going to be worth doing that next week. And then the week after that, I think we're going to work on importing menus and sharing files, etc., within the bot, which could be really valuable. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or would like to see have a closer look at the platform, maybe with a nice demo with one of our experts, please do reach out to ubisend.com. You can book a meeting or book an appointment or book a tour of the platform at any point. Someone will be there to help. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment as well. We always keep an eye on that. And we'll be there again next week, Tuesday, 1 p.m. To go through another lesson. All right. See you, everyone.